Oh, Cleveland last night. Unbelievable. Could not get anything going against the worst team in the American League Central in the Chicago White Sox. Tonight at Fenway Park, former friends deal out on the mound as JV tries to get his first win of the season. The Mud Hens continue the road trip before returning home starting on Monday as they take on the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders of the AAA farm team of the New York Yankees. And breaking news in the NHL free agency. We got all this and more coming up next on your exclusive home for me production of Clayfan 2, 3. And by the way, it's Friday and we're live!
I've been listening to you, watching the same games you've been watching, but I have the nerve to say what's on my mind. It's time to listen. It's time to learn. It's time for All Andy Alfred.
Hello, we're live! We'll start it now.
White Sox, White Sox, go, go, White Sox. Let's go, 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 White Sox. We're with you all the way.
Can't wear this today. You could put that shit on the board.
We're in the stands to make those Raptors ring. All through the season you will hear us sing. Let's go, 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 White Sox. Chicago's proud of you.
Oh, destroying the Indian Fever last night.
White Sox, White Sox, go, go, White Sox. Root, root, root for the White Sox. Which year you want to victory?
The only good team out of Chicago is the Blackhawks, because they're the defending champions.
Let's go, 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 White Sox. Chicago's proud of you. White Sox, White Sox, go, go, White Sox. Let's go, 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 White Sox. Chicago is proud of you.
Oh, they're proud, all right, to beat the Indians last night. But, of course, tonight.
Go get 'em, Tiger.
All behind our baseball team. Go get 'em, Tiger. World Series bound and picking up steam.
Hopefully, Tigers.
There'll be joy in Tiger Town. We'll sing you songs with the Bengals bring the pennant home where it belongs. We're all behind our baseball team. Go get 'em.
Detroit Tigers!
Go get 'em, Tigers.
Go get 'em, Tigers, as they take on the Boston Red Sox tonight, starting in a 3-game series at Fenway Park. The Indians try to bounce back and try to get back into the hunt against the White Sox tonight in a pivotal $2 beer and $1 hot dog night. And the Mud Hens try to take on the Rail Riders. And we're live! I love you guys, and welcome to All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, a production of Clayfan 2, 3, presented by CarryTheFifthLine.tumblr.com. I am your host, Andy Alfred, and welcoming you into All Andy Alfred today, welcoming you into the Man Cave Studios, and welcoming you into another edition of All Andy Alfred. If you want to be a part of the show today, you can tweet the show. We are live tweeting right now. It is at All Andy Alfred on Twitter, at all Andy Alfred. We also have our Facebook page open if you are friends of mine on Facebook as well too. You can also, if you're watching this on a tape delay, of course, you can post the comment underneath the show. On the program today, we have breaking news happening in the NHL as we speak. We'll get into that as well too, and talk a little bit about the U.S. Senior Open happening in Britain today as well too, and preview the weekend that is in baseball for the Mud Hens. And before we begin, the Tigers and Indians to start. And let's start with last night, first and foremost. Of course, the Tigers played yesterday afternoon. If you joined us yesterday afternoon, we were on the air post-game as we discussed the Tigers' loss. And now we have to talk about an Indians loss. Ooh. It's horrible to see this. The White Sox unloading on the Indians today. They beat them 8-1 last night. 4 runs in the 4th. Trevor Bauer having a struggle of a night for himself. 4 runs in the 4th. 1 run in the 5th. 3 runs in the 7th for the White Sox. 1 run only for the Indians in the 6th inning, as Jeff Samardzija gets the win for the White Sox. He's now 7-5 with a 3.91 ERA. He went 8 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 run. That run was earned. No walks, 3 strikeouts in the game. For Trevor Bauer in the game for the Indians, he gets the loss. He now goes to 8-7 with a 4.29 ERA. He went 6 innings pitched, 6 hits. All 6 runs were earned, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts, 3 home runs hit in the game off of him. It was Alexi Ramirez, his 4th, Adam Eaton, his 8th, and Melky Cabrera with 2 home runs, his 5th and 6th of the season. Time of the game at Progressive Field yesterday, 2 hours and 28 minutes, 16,317 in attendance at Progressive Field last night. And Melky Cabrera powering the White Sox to the 8-1 victory overall. The White Sox still in last place in the American League Central, struggling to get out of the cellar dweller. Looking at some other scores from around the league yesterday, Washington was a loser to Pittsburgh 7-3. The Mets and Clayton Kershaw, a beautiful gem of an outing for him. He went almost the distance. He went the distance, a complete game for Clayton Kershaw. He gets the win. He goes to 8-6 with a 2.51 ERA as the Dodgers win 3-0 over the New York Metropolitans. Bartolo Colon gets the loss. He goes now to 9-9 with a 4.60 ERA. The Kansas City Royals were a loser to St. Louis 4-3. Houston getting a 5-4 win over the Boston Red Sox. Arizona an 8-3 victory over the Milwaukee Brew Crew, and the Padres getting blanked by the Miami Marlins 4-0. So looking at the docket for tonight's games, this is what it looks like. Getting underway here at approximately about 20 minutes. It will be the Cubs taking on the Phillies. That is John Lester, 5-8 with a 3.37 ERA. Williams for Philadelphia will get the start. He's 3-7 with a 6.43 ERA. Washington is in Pittsburgh tonight. That's Scherzer versus Locke. This is the first time Max Scherzer will face the Pittsburgh Pirates since his no-hit bid last time out against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Baltimore is in Tampa Bay. That's Tillman versus Archer. 7:10 start time in that one. 7:10, it will be John Neese, the Defiance grad, taking on Thomas for the Dodgers. That's a 7:10 start time for that one. Kansas City is in hosting the Houston Astros. Scott Kazmir coming over from a trade from the Oakland Athletics. Steve Peperaki's Oakland Athletics, by the way. Coming over a trade for 2 minor leaguers. He will get the start tonight. He is 5-5 with a 2.38 ERA. Jeremy Guthrie for the Kansas City Royals, 7-5 with a 5.36 ERA. 8:10 start time tonight. It will be the Mets versus the Twins. Pineda versus Hughes. Hughes getting his first start against his former club. St. Louis is hosting Atlanta tonight, 8:15 at 8:40. Colorado taking on the Red Legs. It'll be DeSclafani versus Butler. 9:40 will be Arizona versus Milwaukee. 10:05 start time. The return of Josh Hamilton to LA Stadium, to the Angels Stadium. It'll be Lewis versus Tempinso. In that affair, 10:10 start time, the Padres hosting the Marlins, and at 10:10 it will be Seattle versus Toronto. 10:15 tonight it will be the battle on the Bay as Oakland the Athletics take on the San Francisco Giants. It'll be Chavez versus Peavy, and those are your matchups for this weekend as well too. So let's get into this weekend's matchups. First and foremost for the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers will start up a 3-game series against the Boston Red Sox starting tonight. It will be Justin Verlander going on the bump tonight, trying to get his first win of the season, as he is 0-3 with a 6.62 ERA. Rick Porcello will start for the Boston Red Sox, former friends, former colleagues. Porcello 5-10 with a 5.79 ERA, 7:10 start time for that one. Saturday sees the Red Sox throwing out right on the hill, 3-3 with a 4.48 ERA. It'll be Alfredo Simon for the Tigers. He's 8-6 with a 4.63, 4:05 start time for that one. On Sunday, the concluding game, the Sunday night baseball game of the week on ESPN. On the bump, it'll be Shane Green, 4-7 with a 6.52 ERA. He'll take on Rodriguez for Boston, who is 5-3 with a 4.64 ERA. 8:08 start time for that one on ESPN. So that is and then the Tigers will take on Tampa Bay. In Tampa Bay, that'll be Sanchez versus Carnes starting on Monday. We'll preview that series on Monday's edition of All Andy Alfred. But looking at now for the other team that shares the same link, it will be the Cleveland Indians continuing their 4-game homestand against the Chicago White Sox. Quintana will start for the White Sox tonight. He's 4-9 with a 3.83 ERA. The Cleveland Indian ace of Corey Kluber will start for the Tribe. He's 5-10 with a 3.38 ERA. 7:10 start time for that one. You can watch that game on Fox Sports Time. On Saturday, it will be another 4. It will be a 7:10 start time. That will be Chris Sale on the bump, 8-5 with a 2.86 ERA versus Carlos Carrasco, who's 10-7 with a 3.94 ERA. In that affair, the concluding game on Sunday sees the Indians taking on Rondon for the White Sox, who is 3-3 with a 4.48 ERA. Danny Salazar starting for the Tribe. He is 8-5 with a 3.78 ERA. The game at 1:10. You can watch that game, all games, either on Comcast Sportsnet or WGN the U on Saturday, or if you have it in Cleveland, Fox Sports Time, Ohio. Looking at the standings going forward into tonight's play, with the Tiger loss yesterday and an Indians loss and a White Sox victory, Kansas City getting a loss to St. Louis. Here's the updated standings. Minnesota still in second place. They're 51-44, 6.5 games out of first place. Kansas City still holding the best record in all of the American League with a record of 57-37. Detroit 47-48, 10.5 games out of first place, 4 games out of a wild card position. Cleveland is 45-49, 12 games out of first place, 5.5 games out of a wild card position. They are 5-5 in their last 10. The White Sox are 43-50, 13.5 games out, 7 out of a wild card position. Looking at the National League Central, St. Louis with the win yesterday has the best record in all of baseball at 61-34. Pittsburgh in second place, 55-40, 6 games out of first place, 3.5 games up in the wild card position. The Cubs still holding strong in the second wild card position at 51-43, 9.5 games out of first place. The Redlegs are 42-51, 18 games out of first place, 8.5 out of a wild card berth, and the Milwaukee Brew Crew are now 42-54, 19.5 games out of first place, 10 games out of a wild card position. Looking at the overall, Washington 51-43, leading the East over the Metropolitans, 3 games, where the Mets are 49-47. In the West, the Dodgers are still holding strong at 55-42. And behind them is the San Francisco Giants, who are 3 games out of first place, a half a game out of a wild card bed at 51-44. In the American League, the Yankees still holding strong at 53-41. Toronto 49-48, 5.5 games out of first place. In that one, in the West, the Angels of Anaheim 54-41 in first place in the West. Only a game out is the Houston Astros, who are 54-43. And now the Houston Astros, with the signing Scott Kazmir, I think they're going to make a push. If you're an Astros fan, I know there's some fans out there that are Astro fans in this local market. Are you excited? This could be a great opportunity for the Astros. They're finally gelling together. We'll see what happens with the Astros going forward into this postseason play. And we'll see what happens tonight and this weekend on the diamond in the world of the major leagues. You're watching All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, a production of ClayFan23, presented by CarryTheFifthLine.Tumblr.com. I did get some tweets last night I wanted to share with you here on the program. Last night during the Indians game, I got a bunch of tweets from one from Nick Prez, at Nick Prez. He puts on here, when the Indians were up 1-0, he said, you can put that on the board at All Andy Alfred. 1-0. And then you had once again, put that shit on the board at All Andy Alfred. 4-0. Very, very surprised with it. I also got a tweet as well, too, from him as well, too. Why do I call them the White Sox, not the White Sock? I mean, because there's more than one player on the team. They're Sox. They're the White Sox, not the White Sock. I mean, the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago White Sox. Just saying. I am wearing orange today. It is a Falcon Friday, of course. We're getting closer and closer to the start of college football season. By the way, I did get some emails about this as well, too, about people wanting to know when the college football special is going to be happening. We are planning for that mid-August to September, to mid-August, right when we get the start of the season. So be prepared for that. We're going to have full in-depth analysis and talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes as well as the Mid-American Conference with our Bowling Green Falcons and the University of Toledo Rockets. Let's talk a little bit about the Mud Hens last night as another waste of a season, in my opinion. But let's talk a little bit about them. Lehigh Valley loses to the Mud Hens in the 8th inning thanks to Manny Pena, the catcher for the Mud Hens, giving a big knock in the 8th inning, driving in 4 runs in the game to break the tie, and the Mud Hens winning 7-6, almost blowing it in the 9th yet again. Zed gets the win. He goes to 2-2 with a 4.53 ERA. Orlando gets the loss. He goes to 1-1 with a 3.86 ERA. Kusin gets his 6th save of the season. For Lehigh Valley in the game, it was with the starter for him was Shane O'Sullivan. He went 7 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs. All 3 were earned. No walks and 6 strikeouts. For Buck Farmer for the Toledo Mud Hens, he went 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. All 3 were earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, and the 1 home run he gave up. Time of the game, 2 hours and 55 minutes, 9,226 in attendance. The home run given up was by Alter for Lehigh Valley, his 5th of the season. Looking at some other scores from around the International League that happened last night, Columbus took on the Louisville Bats. Louisville trying to get back into the hunt and try to get back into the swing of things to get above the Clippers. They could not handle that as they continued to roll over the Clippers 7-4. Holmberg gets a win. Roth gets the loss in that one. Pawtucket loses to Norfolk 5-4. Syracuse loses to Buffalo 3-1. Durham a 4-0 blanking of the Charlotte Knights. 4 hits allowed in the game for them. Scranton Wilkes-Barre with a winner 2-1 over the Indianapolis Indians in their affair last night. And Gwinnett was a loser to Rochester 4-0. Today on the docket, it will be a change in schedule, of course, as the Mud Hens will take on the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. We'll preview that series here just momentarily. But Norfolk is hosting Durham tonight. 6:05 start time for that one. At 7:05 will be Buffalo taking on Pawtucket. Gwinnett is taking on Charlotte. That's a 7:05 start time. Both teams have not yet named starters for that game. It will be Syracuse in Lehigh Valley. Louisville is in Indianapolis. Rochester's in Columbus tonight. That's Peverly versus Roberts. And Norfolk and Durham will continue the suspended game first before they get to the second game at 6:05. So we'll see what happens with that tonight. Of course, like I mentioned, the Mud Hens taking on the Rail Riders tonight. It will be on the bump for the Mud Hens this evening. A familiar face from all of us here for the Mud Hens. It'll be Mike Bialfiore, 4-8 with a 5.09 ERA. He'll take on Cervanto for the Rail Riders, who has had big league experience this year. He's 5-0 with a 1.79 ERA, 7:05 start time for that one. On Saturday, it will be Tim Melville on the hill, 4-8 with a 4.70 ERA. The Rail Riders have not yet named a starter for Saturday's game. On Sunday, it will be Davies for the Rail Riders, 6-6 with a 4.03 ERA. He'll take on Thad Weber, who is 6-6 with a 3.97 ERA, 1:05 start time for that one. The Mud Hens then will return home starting Monday, 7 o'clock at Fifth Third Field to take on the Rochester Red Wings, the AAA farm team of the Minnesota Twins. We will have you in-depth analysis for that on starting on Monday's edition of All Andy Alfred. We'll be at the ballpark on Tuesday for an edition of All Andy Alfred, of course, too. Hoping to get Sir Nicholas DeVera from beattheshift.tumblr.com on the program to talk about the trade deadline. He is looking at some prospects from the Minnesota Twins. Let's see what happens with that. Looking at the standings going into this weekend's play, Toledo is still in last place in the IL West. They're 43-56, 14 games out of first place. Louisville 48-52, 9.5 games out of first place so far. Columbus 54-45, 3 games out of first place. Indianapolis still holding the best record in all the International League at 57-42. Looking at it for the worst record in all of International League Baseball, Syracuse 39-61, Pawtucket 41-56. Then you have Toledo, who is 43-56, Lehigh Valley 44-55. Before you get to a tie for Louisville and the Buffalo and the Gwinnett Braves. So looking at the wild card standings, the Mud Hens still have a mountain decline, 13.5 games out of a wild card position. Charlotte now holding strong in the first place wild card position. Columbus 2.5 games out of a wild card position. And it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward. As you're watching All Andy Alfred right here on your exclusive home for me, a production of PlayFan23. I am your host, Andy Alfred, coming to you from the Man Cave Studios in Toledo, Ohio. We're still on the air. You can be a part of the show. It is at All Andy Alfred on Twitter. It is at All Andy Alfred as well. And you can also, if you're watching this on a tape delay, thank you for tuning in and coming into the program today. You can always feel free to put a comment under the show. It will be read on Monday's show, of course. But breaking news out of the NHL. Braden Hope from the Washington Capitals has signed a 5-year extension. And that's going to help out the Capitals in between the pipes. 5-year extension for him. 2 other signings as of note. Washington signs Ryan Stanton from the Vancouver Canucks, and Calgary re-ups with Josh Sturis. He will be re-upping with that. Like I said, Michael Chaput, on yesterday's program, Michael Chaput from the Columbus Blue Jackets has re-upped with the Jackets. He signed a 1-year, 2-way contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Looking forward to seeing him in the Union Blue and Red. Of course, like I mentioned before on yesterday's program, on NHL 2016 this year, the Columbus Blue Jacket cannon and goal horn will be featured on this year's edition of the program, on this year's edition of the game. Looking forward to playing that. We'll probably be playing it live on our program here on the big board that we have behind us, so you can see the cannon and see how great this is going to be. Some ECHL news to dive into as well, too. Pat Nagel from the Fort Wayne Comets has re-upped with the Fort Wayne Comets, while the team has also added defenseman Alex Brook and Adam Pollock as well, too. The Colorado Eagles has signed defenseman Nathan Griffin to a 2-year deal. He spent the last 2 years at the University of Calgary and played in the ECHL in 2010 and 11 with the Utah Grizzlies. Adirondack has named Cal McLean as the new head coach of the Adirondack Thunder. Jason Christie is entering the 2015-16 season, needing only 9 wins to become the winningest coach in all of East Coast Hockey League history. Also, South Carolina has re-upped with Wade Epp. He had 20 points last year as well, too, for the South Carolina Stingrays. Good to see that happening as well as the ECHL season getting ready to come up. And we'll talk a little bit about that next week on the program with the Walleye schedule. We'll dive into that next week's edition of All Andy Alfred, starting on Monday's edition. We'll talk about that on Tuesday's edition when we're down at the ballpark with more of the Mud Hen and Walleye staff, of course. But let's talk a little bit about some golf right now. The Senior Tour, European Tour happening over in Great Britain right now. Tom Watson playing host in that one. And still holding strong a little bit of it. But it's Colin Montgomery holding right now. He's 2 under for the day, 5 under for the tournament. Brian Park is even at par so far today. He's 5 under par as well, too. I go back down a little bit here. See if I can find Mr. Watson. Tommy Watson finished. He finished over today, 2 over par. He is 1 under for the tournament. He dropped 19 spots overall, having a struggle of a day so far for him. So we'll keep you track. We'll keep posted on that, and we'll recap that for you guys on Monday's edition of All Andy Alfred, of course. And before I wrap up the program today, I want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen here in approximately about an hour on ESPN2. Today is the last episode of the Keith Overman program on ESPN2. Keith and ESPN have parted ways. This is his last program today. I will say this that sports commentary and sports broadcasting is losing an icon and a hero today because of bad management. This is why you'll never see me work for ESPN, because they control what you want to say and what you can do in sports and what you want to say. And I will never work for the mothership, because all sports lead to the mothership no matter where it comes, no matter how it comes. And I will say this, Keith Overman is one of my heroes, one of my icons that I follow. I've been following since the 90s with him and Dan Patrick, and they were the dynamic duo, the prime time on SportsCenter. One of my heroes, one of my icons as well too. Even though yesterday he had one of my good sports heroes, Don Cherry, in his world's worst for the signing of the new GM for Toronto. But Keith Overman has had tons of experience. He's also politically knowledge. He started in sports as a sportscaster, and looking at some of Keith's history, he has been fired from MSNBC. He is honestly one of the best in sports, and how he ever does it, I mean, wherever he goes or however he goes, I will probably be following him. I mean, I follow him on Twitter. One of the best sportscasters, one of the best minds, and one of the best. And I don't want to get emotional, but one of the contributing factors of this show is Keith Overman, because I don't do my show just for me to get on the air and express my opinion. He does it every day. He has done it for the last centuries. He's been doing it for centuries, voicing his opinion about sports and voicing his opinion about what's right in sports. The whole Hope Solo thing, I totally agree with him on that. How can a person who beat up their own family have the right to be crowned a World Cup champion? How does that, I mean, and millions of girls watch these players and want to grow up to be like these players. And for Hope Solo to have that and pay off for family members, every time you saw this, every time if you watch my program, I would always say, everybody on that team deserves it. Abby Wambach, Christiane Lepore, Megan Rapinoe, all of them deserve it. Hope Solo does not. She doesn't deserve anything. She should be, if she was a man and she was in a different sport that's more popular, she would be prosecuted. It's the whole Ray Rice situation. It's about as bad as Kobe Bryant, too. But Keith was one of the driving forces for that. Keith, knowledgeable in baseball. Never seen a no-hitter. I hope when he goes off the air, he gets to finally see a no-hitter soon. Even though he's a Ranger fan, he loves Rick Nash. Should come to Columbus and watch a Blue Jacket game. He would fall in love with a blue-collar team that is the Jackets as well, too. But, Keith, you will be missed. However, you're going to be on the new program. I mean, he does like a cartoon episode and cartoon series as well, too, that he's on. That's still on the air. However he does it, to Keith Olbermann and to all of the to all his writers and all his staff, to Tony Bruno, to all you fans that, tune in today at 5 o'clock on ESPN2 to say farewell to Keith Olbermann on ESPN. Truly one of the best in sports commentary. It's going to be a damn shame that ESPN has to let him go yet again. So I look forward to seeing what they have in store for Keith today on his program. You have to know what it is. So, to Keith, thank you for everything you do, and thank you for everything that you have done for sports commentary and for sports broadcasting. You're truly an icon, a legend, and a real role model, in my opinion. Thank you for being you. So, thank you, Keith. God bless you. And yeah. Thank you, Keith. That's going to wrap it up for All Andy Alfred today. Don't forget, Monday's edition of All Andy Alfred will be a tape show, as we will be recapping the weekend that was in sports. So fix my headset here. We'll recap the weekend that was in sports. Dive into the Mud Hens as well, too. Will be the top 5 and bottom 5 presented by Dr. Zuhari and Fisher's office. The top 5 and bottom 5 hitters for the Mud Hens as they come back home starting on Monday to take on the Rochester Red Wings. So let's hope that the Tigers can get back into the winning page as well, and hope that the Indians can get going as well, too. That's going to wrap it up for All Andy Alfred today. I hope you enjoyed this program as much as I gave it to you, and however you're watching us and whenever you're watching us. Thank you for tuning into the program today. And, as always, go Tigers! Go get 'em. Rawr. Go drive. Indian Fever. Indian Fever. Let's go, Hens! And we are the 5th line. Is it October yet? And thank you, Keith. Going to wrap it up for All Andy Alfred today. And as always, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. Game of life. And to the teams behind me. It's your team that you root for at home. Victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a great evening, everybody. I'll see you on Monday for another edition of all, Andy Alfred. I love you, babe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'll talk to you guys actually on Monday. Love you. Have a great weekend. And take me out, Tigers.
Behind our baseball team, go get 'em.
That's right, Tigers.
Go get 'em, Tigers. White Sox, White Sox, go, go, White Sox. Let's go, White Sox. We're with you all the way. They're always in there fighting and you do your best.
See you guys.
We're glad to have you out here in the Middle West. We're gonna root, White Sox and cheer you on to victory. When we're in the stands, we'll make those Raptors ring. All through the season, you will hear us sing. Let's go, White Sox. Chicago's proud of you. White Sox, go, White Sox. Root for the White Sox. We'll cheer you on to victory. When we're in the stands, we'll make those Raptors ring. All through the season, you will hear us sing. Let's go, White Sox. Chicago's proud of you. White Sox, White Sox, go, White Sox. Let's go, White Sox. Chicago.